Somos Kids. I hope you all are having an awesome day so far. I am super excited because we are starting a brand new series called We Are Family. In this series, we're going to talk about one ordinary family who God wants to use in extraordinary ways. Eventually, they were the ones who brought Jesus into the world. In our last series, we talked about Abraham and his family and how God told them to move to a brand new city. This series, we are going to talk about how God built Abraham a family and what he did with them. This story can be found in Genesis, and it goes like this. When Abraham and Sarah moved to the new city, God told Abraham that he and his wife would have a son, many sons, who would be the kings of many nations. Now let's not forget, Abraham and Sarah were 100 years old. That means they were older than your grandparents, maybe even your great-grandparents. Can you imagine God telling your grandma and grandpa that they're going to have a baby? That's crazy. Abraham thought the same thing. In fact, when he heard what God had said, he bowed down and laughed. Abraham didn't think that it was possible for him and his wife to get pregnant. But God insisted and told them to name their first son Isaac. One day, when Abraham was working, the Lord came down and told him that a year from today, Sarah would become pregnant. While the Lord talked to Abraham, Sarah was listening, and she laughed to herself, thinking her and Abraham were way too old to have any kids. God then said, "Is anything too hard for the Lord? No, I will return at the right time, a year from now, and Sarah will have a son." As God had promised, a year later, Sarah was pregnant. God took care of Sarah, and Sarah gave birth to a boy and named him Isaac. So even though Abraham and Sarah were pretty old, God told them they would have a son, and they laughed. Why do you think they laughed? Well, we don't usually see many grandparents having babies, do we? God told Abraham and Sarah exactly what would be done for their family, but they had a hard time trusting him. The plan seemed impossible to them. They wanted a child for so long, but it hadn't happened for them yet. It can be really hard to trust what God says sometimes. Things may seem impossible, but we can always trust that God will supply our needs. That's kind of like our big idea. We can trust God with our families. So, when things may seem impossible or like there's no way God can help a situation, remember, God gave Abraham and Sarah a baby. All you have to do is trust the Lord, and He will provide everything you need at the right timing. That's all I have for you today, Somos Kids. I hope you have an awesome weekend, and remember to trust God this week.